wouldn't you like to be thin and gorgeous? Truthfully.
I am gorgeous. You know, for me, it used to be the Brett girl. Remember that thing with the wavy on the back of the magazine and just never moved?
Yes.
That to me was the epitome. And then I realized that, you know, somebody had to build that.
Yes.
You know, that wasn't like when you wake up in the morning. When I wake up in the morning these days, I look in the mirror and I think, you know what? Mwah.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, yes. So you've been in therapy then?
No.
Then that's great. Don't go.
No, because somebody would tell me there was something wrong.
What I see in the mirror, I'm not happy with at all.
Still.
Especially now.
Why?
Because God decided, let's give her a challenge a day. And my challenge is my face.
See, I look at you and I see a really beautiful woman.
Yeah, right. And I look at you and I see a darling, wonderful, terrific, fabulous, good-looking woman. But if I were a man, and it was between you and Cindy Crawford, I'm telling you right now, I wouldn't make a stop at you.
I don't think Whoopi Goldberg gets the credit that she deserves. She's such a beautiful woman. In fact, whatever happened to the blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice, the darker the flesh, you know, the deeper the root. Shout out to Tupac. Well, actually, more than 40 years after Alice Walker coined the term colorism, can you believe we still talking light skin versus dark skin? Is media to blame for this crazy debate, or has the black community turned on itself? We're debating colorism right now on Truth Talks.
Truth Tellers, welcome to the show. I'm your host, Ryan Cameron, and as always, we got our other co-host. We got the Lou's own Willie Moore Jr.
Greetings, everybody in TV land. Glad to be here. We about to have a real big show, so sit back and relax, flat out.
And Bree Renee, who's been vlogging her way through the A.
Hey, what's up, Bree Hive? I see y'all buzzing all over YouTube on my vlogs and in them Truth Talk comments. Keep going.
And Dr. Cheyenne Bryant, who's so nice, they gave her a doctorate twice.
What's up, Doc Squad? Your favorite doc, Dr. Bryant. I first just want to send big prayers out to my Angelinos in Los Angeles who are undergoing this extremely, extremely deadly fire. Love you, prayers going up, and yeah.
Like Dr. Cheyenne said, you know, we got a lot of show, but of course, we got huge audiences out on the West Coast, so our hearts go out to the tens of thousands of people in the LA area who are being evacuated as these wildfires burn thousands of acres in Southern California.
That's so devastating to watch.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, it is. And they said Ricky Lake's house has burned down, Paris Hilton's house has burned down, Palisades High School has burned down. We get these fires every year, but this year has been the most, by far, deadliest fire that we've gotten in the history of Los Angeles.
Now, I know that you live in the area. Why is President Trump blaming the governor?
Because so Newsom, our governor, Gavin Newsom, he cut back on pay for the firefighters, which cut back on our firefighters. He didn't do it, right, knowing that we was going to have this huge fire.
Right.
But he did it, I believe, you know, probably in a way of thinking it would work out best. But now we are understaffed with firefighters.
A lot of people on social media I saw were really upset about that too, because they were like, not only did he cut back for the fire department, but then he rose funding for the police department, even though crime rates were declining.
And he did that when we had the smash and grabs. Our DA Gascon came in and said, hey, we're not going to put anybody in jail as long as you don't steal anything over $900. You don't have a firearm. You can go in and steal and do what you want, and we'll just let you out. And so Gavin was thinking we need more law enforcement because we're having crime right now, right? And so that did do its job then, but now we don't have crime, we got fire. So now we need more of a fire department.
Well, our thoughts and prayers are out to everybody in LA. Ahead, we're going to talk colorism and if some celebrities have light skin privilege. But first, in trending topics, Willie has a peek into the future.
Well, have you ever did this, like you listen to your favorite artist and you wish, man, I wish they hurry up and come up with a new album, right? Well, Lupe Fiasco is using tech to solve that problem. He plans to launch this thing called Endless Loop. It's actually a 24-hour AI radio station. The AI has studied Lupe's music and will create new songs based on his rapping abilities. Now, the station will never play a song twice. I don't know how exciting this is, or is this just scary as hell? Truth, tell us what you think.
I think this is really bad for the music industry and especially the artists. Like, you're giving now these AI creative control over your voice and your artistry. That one takes the personability out of it. Like we're supposed to connect with you. I want to feel your pain or what you actually been through or your happiness, your joy in your music. But then also it's like you're allowing this machine to just replicate your art. I don't think that's smart.
Well, you know, Lupe, he always used a lot of really unique sounds, and his words his vocabulary pretty deep. I just don't know if they can do the same thing to artists like, you know what I'm saying, Lil Baby and some of them. Like that would be very unique. But I think it might be okay, but not playing a song twice may be unique. What if you fall in love with a record?
Then you can't hear it again.
You can't hear it again. Maybe you want a service radio.
For someone like me who can't sing, can't hold a note, I think that AI might work out very, very well. But for those of them who can, I think having that personal contact or connection with the person, like say Jeezy, I love Jeezy, right? I love the fact that I not only love his music, but I also associate it with Jeezy, the person, not the AI. And so I get to see him in concert, and it gives me a different type of love and respect for his hustle type of music.
What's going to happen when, like, if you want to just put AI Tupac in there and have him talk about things that are happening right now, or AI Biggie? And because I've heard a lot of these songs, they are pretty doggone accurate.
Yeah. For real.
Wow.
Yeah,
I heard one from Drake. I was like, that's not.
Well, you can't even tell if it's the artist or not.
And AI is everywhere, because I actually use AI as the models for my Dr. Brian merch on my shop, drbrian.com. Those are not people think they're real models. Those are all AIs that I got off of a website and just threw my merch on it, and it looked amazing.
I did. I seen one girl with 6 fingers on your. I was like, this AI, 'cause her finger was like this.
Well, I hope it don't start no imaginary beef either with the AI. But the show must go on, and it will go on for a popular Netflix show after producers reportedly settled a lawsuit. Love is Blind Season 6 cast member Jeremy Hartwell claimed the show underpaid participants and deprived them of food, water, and sleep, y'all. Some of the contestants who joined the lawsuit have been posting on TikTok about the settlement.
Now, according to their reports, the production company behind the show will pay $1.4 million to the class representative, which is Hartwell. One contestant says he's getting $4,000. Others said their number is different, but they didn't reveal how much. So do you think reality stars are underpaid and exploited?
Absolutely. We all know reality TV is one of the most grossing, most watched shows that are out there. People binge watch them. They do the best for these networks. They make millions of dollars of these people. These people have to like really divulge all their life, what they're going through, and really be themselves. This is not acting here. This is like true life. And they get paid pennies compared to what these companies are making. Yeah, so yeah, I think they need to be paid fairly.
And I've experienced reality TV firsthand, and I have to say the opposite, Bree, because there are some some cast members on there who are getting paid less, but their storyline is also reflects what they're getting paid. But there's some folks on that show that them contracts are hot like fire. I mean, they got some fact. These reality stars, maybe not all, but a lot of them who really have a timeline, who really got something to talk about or making up, whatever you want to call it, they're getting paid really good money. Yeah. And so
you don't get what you deserve, you get what you negotiate.
Come on.
Let's just say YouTube is paying a certain amount of money. I might quadruple it with sponsorships. Or you can go on the road. You got to look at your brand and say, what can I do from this show? If I was on this show and it was like Love is Blind, I'd have came back on the road and been like, listen, we got this new live presentation. It's called Blind Love, where we can do speed dating. And and it's $100 a ticket, and you put 1,000 people in there.
And I want to say your team plays a big role in what you know to negotiate. Like, I have an amazing attorney, Joshua Edwards, and he don't play from Rothschild. When I went to my first deal, he was able to say, nah, Doc, we're going to put in this credit and that credit. We're going to ask for this. And Doc, if they say no, you want to pull out. You got to know when to hold and fold too. Some things you know not to pull out because you know the budget won't allow for that. But some people got the budget. Your attorney is there to help you navigate through that,
But I think we're forgetting you have to be able to afford a team, be able to afford these great lawyers and stuff like that. But rapper The Game, y'all, has an interesting relationship question for his followers. He posted this in his stories. He said, if you give a man cat and he gives you eggplant, you both have made an even exchange. He goes on to ask, why should a man be expected to also support a woman financially after that exchange? Do y'all think, or has The Game began listening to too many of these podcast bros?
I think, for the Game, there's certain people that they have too much time on their hands.
Absolutely.
The Game, Floyd Mayweather, Rick Ross, and 50 Cent. And Ray J. It's just they just got too much time, because some of the stuff you're like, okay, they're like, you know what? I'm bored. Let me say something that's going to be crazy because, okay, and go.
Yeah.
I just think, for some of these people, they're just out there just posting stuff. I've had the game on my show. I don't think he believes that, but I think he knows how to get the internet going.
Let me say this. Jay
That's your friend?
JC, we grew up together. Well, we're from LA and Compton. Jay, what's up? But I'm going to say this, because we debate about it a lot. Does he really believe that? Yes, he does.
That's crazy.
Okay, first of all. But you're crazy, Jay, for that. There's no fair exchange before whatever cat and eggplant thing you're talking about. And then, man, there's just situations, Jason, where you understand that in certain roles,
that
the man is supposed to be a man.
He need to sit down and be a daddy.
So he has enough kids to be a daddy, but there's also a role, Jason, that you play as a man that has to do with you coming out of your pockets. That doesn't mean that that's a problem or you're being a trick or that it's gold digging. This just means that there's certain women of certain calibers, Jay, that you got to spend and you got to pay a different kind of way. So that's just what I have to say about it. Love you, but it is what it is.
We'll take care of that.
Jay, you know the way. You got to spend, you got to pay.
Hello.
Like
That's simple. That's simple,
And that's not even AI.
Jay.
Up next,
That ain't AI.
we remember the life and legacy of
Jason.
Georgia's own President Jimmy Carter. That's up next on Truth Talks. And welcome back to Truth Talks. It's a somber day in this nation's history, as many of us, especially here in Georgia, pause to reflect and honor the legacy of the 39th president of this country, Jimmy Carter.
Carter, who was 100 years old when he passed on December 29th of 2024, will be remembered for so many accomplishments throughout his long life. The peanut farmer from Plains, Georgia, served in the U.S. Navy before becoming a Georgia state senator, the state's governor, and then president of the United States.
Now, Carter is known for the peace treaty signed between Egypt and Israel back in 1979, creating the Department of Energy and establishing June as Black Music Month. But it's Carter and his wife Rosalind's work with the nonprofit Habitat for Humanity, I think we've all heard of that, that may be the biggest thing left that everybody knows about his legacy.
Ryan, you've interviewed and met so many famous people and presidents throughout the years. Did you have an opportunity to meet Jimmy Carter? And what do you think his legacy means to Georgians and the world?
Well, thinking, being from Atlanta, being a native, when President Carter was elected, we all went down to Plains, Georgia. We all went down to the Carter House, and I remember getting this peanut souvenir that had like 2 actual peanuts that came from the actual peanut farm. And I was on this panel one year, and this is how far back this goes. It was me, a wrestler, and it was Jimmy Carter, Andy Young, and believe it or not, Ronald McDonald. who was actually talking back then. Okay. I don't know why he was on this panel, but I'm filming it with my video camera, and all of a sudden I see somebody walking towards me. And I'm like, I recognize his face, and as they coming closer, it is Rosalind Carter. And I'm like, oh my God, what is she doing? And she says, and I got this on videotape somewhere. She says, I just want to thank you for all the things that you're doing in the community. I was like, do you know who I am? She's like, of course I know who you are. And then Andy Young came in, and Jimmy Carter was such a huge fan. He was like, Andy, over here. I was like, this is the president who is acting like that about, Andrew Young, who is, of course, another living icon who's like in his 90s. But I think for people in Georgia and, of course, for what he did for Black Music Month, he's going to be very much appreciated. And unfortunately, President-elect Donald Trump is mad because his flag is flying to half-staff.
Yeah. But to your point, he was a huge ally for the Black community. I remember learning very early on that during his second term as governor, he was very vocal about making things not just about Black rights, but human rights. And then he also spoke up, and I quote, "No poor, rural, weak, or Black person should ever have to bear the additional burden of being deprived of the opportunity of an education, a job, or simple justice." So we in the Black community do support you and salute you and thank you for your, long life of service.
And even at 100 years old, like during his birthday, he said, "You know who I want there? I want BB Winans." So,
See,
he called. He said, "Hey, the president want to speak with President Carter."
Right.
And BB came down from Nashville, and that was actually the day that we shot our podcast together. And he said, "Later on tonight, I'm gonna be with President Carter, man.
Yeah.
When he calls, you just show up."
Yeah,
So
no,
it's like, wow, that's just how connected he was. So
was
he'll
dope.
be missed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Going to be sorely missed. And of course, we'll be watching all the services and the home guard. And you know what? President Carter was for people who had many things to say about him, he was a man of the people. It's like, when do you think it just became so political in politics where people weren't worried more about character? We've been talking about reality shows earlier, but how Donald Trump, who was a reality star, became president, and nobody really talks about those character issues. Like Jimmy Carter might not have won if he was been running in 2024, because if he were here now and were running now, he may not have been able to even win again.
Because what I've been saying this whole time, because he was running on policy, he's running for the people. He wasn't running on entertainment, and he wasn't running on or with a generation of people who needed to be entertained in order to be pulled in. He ran on his policies, his legislation, and his beliefs, which is very much what you just read, Bree. And so again, to my point, you get a president like Carter when you get people who understand what presidents like President Carter are going to push in their agenda and the real policy and legislation. Not when you get someone who can twerk and dance and pop and block. That is not what we're voting for, and that is not going to be the change advocacy for what we need. So we need back the Carters, who may again look like whoever votes in 2028, which may be me. And if it's me, I'm running on policy, I'm running black, and I'm going to run a legislation. No one's blocking, booty plopping at my campaign.
I'm going to be blocking, dropping in the back.
So, you know,
behind the curtain, but not on stage.
So the very unique part is, like, I seen videos where, like, Stevie Wonder and others, they actually came, but it was done with integrity, of course.
And class,
you know,
class.
President Carter, he was always risque, though, in the eyes of what traditionally presidents would do during that particular time. He was bridging the gap between the streets and the church, and blacks and whites, and he was doing his thing. So I think it's really, really important that at some point, if you are to win in 2020, if you do go in 2028, the bigger question is can we build a bridge, can we build allies, and can we unite people to make sure America is the United States?
And can we bring politics back to what it's about?
You know, he also was a little controversial. There's a very well-known interview that he did with Playboy magazine that people was like, oh my God, the president of the United States is talking to Playboy magazine. But it was one of those things where you're able to see that somebody is candid, somebody is truthful, and he said a lot of things that a lot of people were afraid to say about a lot of things that are happening in the country.
I will say that he was probably the most respected, like, older president in my generation. Like, my grandmother, my grandfather, they always, like, taught us history, and he was one that they really drilled in us and taught us about. So I knew about him. My generation, we kind of all knew about him. We used to visit his the memorial center and everything for him then. So I think that we do respect him.
Absolutely.
So President Carter, thank you for a life of service to so many. We offer our condolences to the Carter family. Now, coming up next, does being light-skinned help lighten your load in life? We're talking colorism and whether the house slaves, I mean, lighter people, have it easier. I did not write that. They wrote that for me. I would never say that.
Since when did you become dark-skinned?
I'm not dark, but I'm dark enough.
Not as dark as me.
Oh.
No one in this family is as dark as me. That's the problem.
That's not a problem. The fact that you're different is a good thing.
Mm-hmm. If it's so good, then why are you all so scared to talk about it?
Wow. Welcome back to Truth Talks. Tonight, we're taking a deep dive into colorism. Many people blame negative perceptions about darker-skinned people on the media, and that may be partially true. Willie has a look at the research.
Now, research done last year by the Gina Davis Institute on Gender and Media found that nearly 80% of black female characters on television have light or medium skin tones, and more than half have hairstyles that are consistent with European styles of beauty. Now, a separate Google study found that when dark-skinned men appear on TV screens, they are only given speaking roles 20% of the time. Now, this ain't new. Honestly, if we can be honest, why do y'all think Hollywood is still favoring lighter women even after Lupita Nyong'o and Viola Davis have broken so many glass ceilings that we pretended it did not exist? Why does this happen so much in media?
Right, so colorism was coined 42 years ago, right, as we said, by Alice Walker, and it started really back in the slavery days when the mixed slaved kids were deemed smarter, were deemed more civilized, and were given much better privileges than the other kids who were darker than them, right? And so that same slavery rhetoric, or that same slavery systemic racism, it plays out in modern day, which I call modern day slavery. And it does happen throughout. You know, and I have this thing where I've said on the show many times, is that if there is this, and I'm not saying it doesn't exist, colorism does exist. Not everyone has experienced it, but it does exist. But I think it's more important to focus on how do we shift it systemically first. Secondary, personally, how do you figure out where your privilege is? How do you figure out what does work for you? If you're a light-skinned woman, you feel like you're not, you are mixed race woman, or man, you feel like you don't fit in anywhere because you're not black enough. Right?
Child, you've been light-skinned your whole life.
I have been light-skinned my whole life, but there's shut up, okay? There's a privilege. You know it's a privilege. There's a privilege that may come with being light-skinned, but there's also a unprivilege that comes with not being black enough.
Maybe
there's
inside
also
of our community.
There's also a word you fit in at. Okay, doc, so you're not black enough, but I don't fit fully in with the Hispanics and the Mexicans because I'm damn sure not brown enough. But then if I'm over here with the Hispanics and Mexicans, when things really go down, then I'm definitely deemed a black woman. So when I'm choosing a side, I got to choose a side where I know that, okay, well, you know, these folks over here look more like me sometimes, and so therefore I'm going to have to go over here where I fit in. But why do I have to choose a side? Why do I have to choose to be black or brown? Why can't I be both and be fully accepted and not looked at as either privileged because I'm light or not privileged because I'm not black enough?
But when it comes to decision makers, we know most of the decision makers are white men who are in these positions. They choose a woman like you. Now, don't get me wrong. There has been some very unique things that go on in the African American community, woman to woman. Women like, you ain't black enough. I know that you were on one show and they kept on bothering you because he was like, you ain't black enough. You ain't black enough. But when it comes to the privilege of having such skin tone, like we can't ignore the elephant in the room.
Absolutely.
Most of the time, you guys are getting chosen for versus a darker skinned African American woman. Even when darker women get the opportunity to get these roles, as they said, it's like you better have your hair the right way. Michelle Obama, she just decided to wear braids 24 months ago after being out of the White House.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But I think that went on a lot more in the 80s and back in the day where this whole light-skinned women were more prominent type thing. I'm talking about my experience. I don't have to believe it. I'm not asking you to agree with it. I'm saying that my experience is as a light-skinned woman who has many beautiful chocolate and brown-skinned friends, that when we're out and about, they're getting equally as much compliments as I am, if not more. However, back in the 80s, yes, there was a time when we were teenagers, being light-skinned was the thing to be. And that being light-skinned with this certain texture hair and just the way that our features are was the thing that was very much looked at. And they call it exotic, not light-skinned, but you're exotic. At least for me, I get that exotic, right? Oh, she's exotic. When I'm just a freaking mixed black woman.
But I think, you know, I see this. I mean, I know we talking about colorism and light skin versus dark skin, but we talked about this on my show, and I'm gonna ask both of y'all. Yeah. Is there also a pretty privilege?
Absolutely. 100%. There's all kinds of different privileges.
But I want you to deep dive into that because what people are saying to me is like, you know, hey, you could be light skinned or dark skinned, but you know, they call, you know what? One of my producers says it's pretty girl problems.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, I never heard of that. So what is a pretty girl problem?
Pretty girl privilege is like, well, a guy might open the door for me or be a little bit nicer to me or, you know, just a little bit more sweeter. Or guys, even when they're dating, they might offer to do things that they wouldn't offer to do for a regular or uglier woman.
Come on,
so
uglier.
you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I mean, it's there are different levels to it. So I'm not gonna sit here and deny that I have light skin privilege or pretty privilege. What I will say, and I think I understand where you're going with the fact that when you sometimes are lighter in the black community, you might not be black enough. I definitely have experienced that as well. But I don't think that we get to choose the privilege. The privilege is given from the person of power. So I don't think that we could say, we'll just lean into a different privilege or pick a different privilege. You don't get to pick the privilege. The person with power picks who is given the privilege. But I think that us as women of all shades, it's up to us to band together to be like, listen, we're going to be allies and we're going to stick together and we're going to combat this. Just like when a black man will say, oh, you must be foreign. It still goes on, like you say, exotic, foreign. They be like, oh, you must be foreign. I'll be like, no, I'm a black woman.
Yeah, and I want to say
respect me as such, regardless of my shade.
But you're right. It is the person in power, and that person in power, when it comes to me, happens to be me. So me, I stand on my power and I choose my privilege, and there's no authority ahead of me who can have power over me.
Not when they're casting you, not when they're cutting the check, and not when they're picking you to marry you or date you.
Yeah, but I own my own company, so I cut my check, and when I'm being casted, if they're casting me because I'm light-skinned, that's not something that I'm knowing from the forefront. And also, I've also not got certain roles to one beautiful, amazing chocolate brown-skinned women and some women who weren't even black, who were Hispanic or white. There's roles that I went up for that I did not get. So for me, again, I don't care if no one agrees. My power for me stands in me choosing my own privilege, driving that privilege, and it has been very, very resultful for me. That's been very resultful for me. I'm not sitting here waiting for some person with power to tell me where my privilege is. That is the problem within our underprivileged community. You choose your privilege. No one has the power to do that. That's a victimized mindset. Nope.
No, I mean, I think, you know, and I love you, Dr. B, but some of that stuff you be saying be straight bullshit.
That's fine, right?
Because, because you have built a brand. You are an entity, but you are also a unicorn in some aspects.
Absolutely.
So when you go out there and you be saying, I did this, I did that, there are a lot of people out there, if it comes down to paying my goddamn rent or taking this role, I'm taking this role. I can't say, well, I got my own company and I do my own thing. That's not how it works. For the regular individual, you are a different type of person.
I
you got to acknowledge that you are different.
I received that, but what I'm saying to you is I'm also different because of my mindset is different from a lot of women who are also light-skinned like me, who are also brown-skinned and beautiful. They have the victimized mindset. So I've seen women be more gorgeous than me and can't operate like me, not because they're not special or unique, because their mindset is failing them and they're in that mindset of somebody else or outside of me has the power. That is not true. You have the authority. You have the power. You don't have to be a business owner. You just have to stand on your square and run the plays that work for you.
It's easy to blame the media. Even we've been criticized on this show for not having a chocolate-skinned black woman on this panel, especially when we're talking about black issues. But we might need to take a closer look at ourselves. Take a look at this.
I definitely believe that when darker-skinned black men are seeking out relationships with lighter-skinned women, anticipating to procreate light-skinned children, whenever that doesn't happen and the kids turn out dark-skinned like him, that is by accident. That was not supposed to happen unless the only exception to that will be if they are boys. If those kids come out dark-skinned and they're boys, it's okay. If they come out dark-skinned and they're girls, or it's a girl, that wasn't supposed to happen. She was supposed to look like her mom.
I don't know, y'all. Do y'all feel like she has a point? Are we the ones perpetuating colorism in our community and trying to make ourselves lighter? Everyone has been getting on Serena Williams for her lighter appearance. We can talk about Sammy Sosa all the way to Michael Jackson. But at what point is it us doing it to ourselves for acceptance?
Well, it's definitely a we problem, an us problem. It's definitely a black systemic problem. That's why it's called colorism, because we are the people of color who are making it a racism. Colorism, coined by Alice Walker, she says it's a prejudice and a preference that takes place between people of the same color. That's her definition. And so again, it's to your point, Bree, it's like, you know, if we know that it exists, right? Every time I see a little chocolate little girl who looks at me, y'all could take it how you want, I make sure I take my time to look her dead in the eyes and say, you are so pretty. Willie, your daughter's not chocolate, but she's darker than me. What do I tell her every time I talk to her, whether it's on FaceTime or in person? What I say, you are the most prettiest little girl I've ever seen. And she just bats her pretty eyes. It's not even about color. It's about another woman who is a woman of color, regardless of her skin color, of me letting her know you're in awe of me. You're gorgeous. Bree, we do this to each other all day, whether it's light skin and light skin. When you get dressed, I say, your outfit is fly. Your hair is pretty. Dr. B, I love your hair. That is affirming each other so that we take the color that we see and we dissipate it.
Well, I feel like, you know, it starts at a very young age. I think, you know, I want to give a big shout out to Black Doll Affair, right? Because when kids go into the toy stores or they go online, the doll that they pick up is a blonde-haired, blue-eyed Barbie doll. There aren't a lot of dolls of color in there. And what she's done is she goes out every year and gives thousands of dollars. And big shout out to Mattel, who find an independent black doll maker, because people grow up to be what they see. And so if they grow up and they see the fair hair and the eyes, next thing you know, they got on the contacts and all these other things, and having a black doll is something that you want to grow up to be. So big shout out to her, because I think it starts when you first are a little kid and you pick up that doll and you say, oh my God, this is the hair, this is how I want to look. And I think that also adds to the colorism later on.
Wait, that's so true, because Willie, your baby girl, I said, what color are your Barbie dolls? Because she said, I put all my Barbie dolls in the Barbie truck. I said, what color? She said,
They all black.
They all black.
When
she came, of course, I mean, many of you all have seen on social media, like all my boys, they light skinned, they got all this long hair. And then my daughter comes out and she's a beautiful brown skinned girl. And the immediate thing that I said, I'm like, oh, I gotta love you differently. Cause I understand the world that we're in. And her mom and I, we got on one accord and we made sure that her Barbie dolls looked like her. We made sure that she seen beautiful brown skinned girls in her room. So now her confidence is so high because every morning when I take her to school, I tell her you are smart, you are intelligent, you are loved, you are cared for, you are honored, and you are the most beautiful woman that I've ever laid eyes on. And she just bats her eyes and I says, now who's daddy's favorite girl? And she says, me. And when you embed that type of encouragement into any woman, it doesn't have to be a brown skinned girl, Willie. But when you give that type of encouragement, it gives her the confidence to know it's not about my skin tone. You notice I didn't lead with beautiful. I said you are smart and intelligent, loved, cared for, honored, and trusted. The last thing was you're the most beautiful girl. So I think we put a lot on this, but beauty is so fleeting. There'll be a time when you'll be 70 years old and you're gonna have to depend on what's in your head versus what's in your face.
Heart.
Yeah, and in your heart gotta be pure. So it's unique. So Ryan, take it because I don't want to miss none of these commercials.
Yo, let's keep it 100. What's the benefit? Is there a such thing as light privilege? People say two popular TikTokers aren't getting enough credit for their talents because they're darker. I'm going to talk about it ahead on Truth Talks.
I definitely don't say I have the same challenges as a darker skinned black woman because I don't. But I do like to take my privileges that I have as a lighter skinned black woman and help them and shine light on those issues because I think that's important and that we should constantly uplift each other and push for acceptance of all women of color.
Welcome back to Truth Talks. We're talking colorism. Zendaya is one of the actresses who found herself in the middle of a colorism battle not too long ago. Keke Palmer ranted on X about people comparing her and fellow child star Zendaya, saying, a great example of colorism is to believe I can be compared to anyone.
Hello.
I'm the youngest talk show host ever, the first black woman to star in her own show on Nickelodeon, and the youngest and first black Cinderella on Broadway. Her point is, why should there even be a comparison?
They like to divide and conquer us. I think that if we can continue to keep us fighting against each other, then we can't fight the bigger issues that we are all facing. I think that's the biggest thing. And I want to point out too that not just women endure colorism in our community. I feel like men endure it as well, but it's just reversed. So darker skinned men, I think are now in this day and age, at least in my generation, are deemed as more sexy, more masculine, more
Back in Michael Jordan did that. So it's been a long time, baby.
And Idris Elba's and the what's the other fine? Like it's a lot of black sexy men, okay, dark skin. But then when you have a lighter skinned man, they look at him like, oh, he a little weak. Oh, he's simp. Oh, look at you being light skinned. You know what I mean? So our black men are enduring colorism as well. And I think, again, it's just a divide and conquer tactic.
Hey, can I be honest with y'all? And I don't think I ever said this publicly, but I'm like 9 years old. Like, I'm in the neighborhood. I'm putting my hat like this because it's Berkeley. Berkeley, you know what it is. And so, like, I'm the young, light-skinned dude. I'm adopted. I don't look like nobody in my family because I'm different. So I got this hair that's just like my son's, just big, and I'm keep on getting picked on. And they come on, look, like, so I have to learn how to fight. I got to go through all of this. And then I remember praying on the side of the refrigerator. I said, God, if you would just be so kind to just make me darker.
Absolutely.
And nobody will ever believe this, but I'll show you a picture of me when I was 12 and like where I am now. Like I just wanted just darker skin because it was just so unique.
So you feel like you fall on the lighter scale with the paper bag test?
Man, this called sexy caramel right here.
Oh, you caramel.
You hear me? Listen.
But you know what's so crazy, really? I prayed the same exact thing. I wanted to be darker. My mother is a very beautiful dark-skinned woman, and people literally say, you have her whole face. It looked like she spit you out, right?
I say that all the time.
But I used to be like, well, why I don't look like you? And then I used to have, even growing up in Atlanta, you know, very black communities, everybody was dark-skinned and beautiful, and they're like, well, why your hair curl up like that? And picking on me. And then people used to say really rude things to my mom, like, oh, whose kid are you babysitting? And my mom would be like, at the park. Like she would be like, "This is my child," and if you don't back up,
it
would be a problem. And so it really made me feel alienated from my own people. So I too have prayed that, please God, just make me dark. Let me sit out in the sun and be black a little bit.
Yeah, and I think it's just again, I think there is colorism, but I think it's a preference. I know during the winter I go to the tanning salon.
Because you're a sugar cookie.
And because I'll be too light. Okay. Yeah, sugar cookie. But I know when I used to walk into the tanning booth, it was all white people at the counter working, and they would look like, why is she in here?
Oh, wow.
But as soon as I came out the booth, they go, oh, damn, she's gold. We get it. And all of my girlfriends who were black would be like, you know, girl, like, what the hell's wrong with you? You black. You going to the tanning salon? What's wrong with you? But every winter, because I get so light bright, I tan. I don't tan so much to say I want to just be dark, but I know that I tan because I don't like to be so light. I like the gold tone. So again, it does exist, but I do feel like, you know, it's more about us finding out what works for us, what makes us feel beautiful in our skin, no matter what color we are. Because my girls are bad. My girls are beautiful. And we come in all shades. And my chocolate girl's key is one chocolate girl. Body is banging. Her skin is just, it look, you just want to lick her. She's so good. And when she tried
to want to do what?
You already know yesterday. You came out
the
closet.
Lord, I came out the closet, right? Now you want to lick her.
Just playing about
the licking, Lord have mercy. But I'm saying when she walks in, men stop and they look at her and they look at me and they don't know who to look at more because she looks exotic and she is chocolate and gorgeous and she keeps her hair flat. She's just bad. Mm-hmm. She dresses, she's classy, she's a businesswoman, she's an entrepreneur, and her sister is lighter than me. Yeah. And they always say, y'all got the same mom and same dad? And they do, and they're both gorgeous.
We know beauty comes in all shades, and so does ugly. So in the black, in the black community and culture, it can feel like there's a preference from black men when they're starting to date their women, and that preference often looks like lighter in tone. From athletes to musicians to actors, we often see men standing next to the Lori Harveys, and we rarely see them picking the Lauryn Hills or even the Keke Palmers. Guys, why is that? Is it ingrained in our culture, habit, and as far back as the paper bag test? Y'all remember, we just talked about that. And I want to know how y'all feel about it, guys, and can y'all let our viewers know what the paper bag test is?
After you
No, you've been going off.
If you don't know, it started back in, like, I think slavery or at the end of slavery and desegregation, where they were like, if you hold up a paper bag, if you're lighter than the paper bag, then you pass.
That's a white woman.
If you're darker than the paper bag, then you're too dark and unacceptable in culture. But I want to know, for the fellas, when dating, why do you think that most prominent men, successful men, tend to usually have a lighter skinned woman?
Yeah, and I want y'all to talk about your women's, because I know both of your wife and your women's are your purpose partner. I know that they happen to be very, very light. So when we're talking about this colorism, why is it that men tend to pick men, the lighter type of women? Ring my bell. Thank you. Thank you. Ryan, you can go first because your wife's lighter than his. So you go first.
Man, I ain't messing with y'all on that. Let me tell you something right now. Since day one, your boy done had a type.
See?
Done had something I like and what I like, okay?
Oh my God.
And when I went up to Washington, D.C., and I saw that pretty brown caramel chocolate girl with that dark hair, I said, I'm gonna impregnate that lady.
What?
Not once, but twice. And I got 2 beautiful children out of it. Then when I came back to Atlanta, back in the 1990s, and I saw this young girl with green eyes who went to Harper High School. She was as brown as she could be, but it's just something about them damn green eyes. I always want to impregnate them green eyes. Now I got 3. And then I go and I find me an Australian girl with an accent and Creole skin, and next thing I know, I say, gosh, I'm glad I'm got a vasectomy because I would impregnate her too. So I got a type. I ain't gonna, because I said when they came out, I remember we were in the grocery store, and this is to my former wife, Keisha, and we had the Kai, who's my middle child, had blue eyes and really dark curly hair, and we were pushing her in a stroller in the park, and this white woman came up and she was like, is that y'all baby? Mm-hmm. And we was like, yeah, that's our baby. But she was so amazed by the fact that she had that skin tone and that color. But right now, as my daughter is 23, people always say, man, she looked like you with a wig on. So, but I mean, I'm gonna admit it. I mean, I thought about it when I decided what I was gonna do. I mean, so I can't sit up here and say I didn't, because I did. Did that answer your question?
No, you kept it real. So otherwise you was gonna get ripped, baby, because Patty Cakes is gorgeous, but Patty Pat, you lighter than me, girl. Sis, you way lighter than me, Miss Creole. Okay.
But what you're saying, your type is the eyes.
I mean, it's like all of it together. I mean, I feel like I've always wanted to I mean, to me, like you said, with the exotic or whatever. I mean, they got a whole, you know, the Passport Brothers are a whole entire Instagram page of they just go around finding these women who look certain. I mean,
it's what Ryan said. It's exotic, and this is why I said that exotic does not mean light skin. Exotic is just a look. It's features. It can be dark with certain features, and you're exotic. You can be light with certain features and be exotic.
Why aren't black features considered exotic?
Well, I'm gonna tell you like this before Willie goes.
I have features, so and I'm exotic.
If there was a photo album that you could flip through of all the people and all the ladies. It would be no colorism in there.
I'm not even saying.
It's so many different shades in
different shades of brown.
Oh my God.
What about you, Willie?
Listen, I'm gonna tell you.
Because I think you got a type.
I probably do have a type at this age.
I think your type look like Dr. Brian.
No, let me tell you something. Let me be honest with you.
Talk about it.
No disrespect, Dr. Brian. You're a beautiful woman.
Talk about it.
But I'm kind of like Ryan when it comes to my photo album. If you knew like my past and who I was with, then you would know that I had an array of women. But there's one outlier that we ain't really touching.
What's that?
And it's that ass in the back for me. I like a caboose. Listen, we got this thing in the South. I went to University of Mississippi. All the bruh, shout out to the Newslander Pie, you know what it is. We used to be like, we had conversation. Like, she pretty and she fine. Fine mean that something's happening back there.
Wait, so Bree, that means me and you ain't this type.
She fine. She fine. I ran with a crew of guys, to be honest, we all had our preference. The unique part was, of course, for me, I was more like a lighter tone, kind of brown skinned girl. That's what I was drawn to. As long as something was back there, I would be there. But we didn't get in each other's lane. So my brother Chris, he light skinned, he light as this paper. Like he only like the darker girl. So if I like a darker girl, he'll say, stay in your lane, boy. Stay in your lane. You know, that's me or what have you. So, you know, I just think we all have our preferences. I married a woman who's a fair-skinned woman. And of course, my purpose partner now, she master children. We pray.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's the back dimples for me. All
the
right.
back dimples.
Come on. I mean, no matter what, as long as you got them back dimples, we can talk, all right? Now, our families can be guilty of this light skin, dark skin pressure. One of our staffers here told us she's the youngest of 5 girls, but the darkest of them all. She's really a very beautiful chocolate skinned girl. But her grandparents always told her she was ugly or not as good as her lighter skinned brothers and sisters. Now, she's only 25 and felt bad about her complexion. She said her grandma used to put garlic around her neck and said, you need to smile at night so we can see you. It was it was very, very cruel until she moved to Atlanta and discovered her dark skin is indeed beautiful.
Yeah. Now, we all remember this trope being highlighted in the movie School Days back in the 90s. You remember? Like with the in fact, do me a favor. Take a look at this clip real quick.
It's not real. Say what? You heard. It ain't even real. You wish you had hair like this. Girl, you know you weren't even born with blue eyes. That's right. Blue contact lenses. They're just jealous. Right. Jealous. Rachel, I've been watching you look at Julian. You're not slick. If that was true, he wasn't much to look at. Tell me, Pickaninny. Barbie doll. High yellow heifer. Tar baby. Wanna be white, jigaboo.
Wow.
That's so...
I will say this, shout out to Spike Lee for just bringing it to the forefront.
Right. 100%.
And he showed all the beauty. And I think that's what we have to do. Yep. Growing up as a young man in St. Louis, Missouri, I'll be honest with you, we had cable. A lot of people in the neighborhood didn't have cable.
Well, you was fancy.
It was only one child. You remember it had like this box and you had to go just like that and had an A and B side. Y'all might not know, but we had cable. We were privileged. But the only images that I saw on TV, MTV, and all the other channels were white women.
Right.
And so the one thing I always tell people is the Bible says that the eyes are the lamp of the body, and you can be enlightened by the things that you watch. So literally I would go to the grocery store, my dad would be like, which one of them pretty to you, son? And I would automatically point at the white woman. He would bring me around to the pharmacy and he would show me the beautiful black girl and say, what do you think of her? I was like, she okay. And then he said, talk to her real quick. Let's see what's going on. To show me a difference in what I thought was pretty, because he understood that African American women were the best thing on the planet. planet, in his opinion. And so I think even now, to see Spike Lee depict the way we think and put all these beautiful women, because the thing is, I seen Tisha Campbell hair, but that one on the side, her hip was poking out. So
Yeah,
that was
you
the
saw
one
that thing in the back.
Come on. Come on.
So do we need to show school days to your son and my daughter?
Listen, I'm telling you the truth.
Listen.
My son, he told me he would date a black girl, though. He did tell me that this Christmas.
Well, you got that for Christmas, cause.
Yes. So, Bree, why is there still a problem with millennials and Gen Zs? And how do we stop this type of generational curse from going on and on?
I think that my generation is actually doing a really good job about debunking these social norms, especially with social media. Like, we're bringing more light to wearing your hair in different textures, like they talked about in that clip. Because growing up, there were no natural hair care products. I remember after Chris Rock made that documentary about the perm, that's when
Warner Brothers.
Yeah, we started trying to go natural then. And I was just about almost in college at that point when everybody was converting to natural. So I believe once we decided, and as a community, our hair is acceptable, what we look like in our natural state is beautiful, I think we began to explore the options and the beauty of our natural beauty.
That's good.
So we know that light privilege is a problem in the workplace too. Hooters is paying up in a racial discrimination case that involves colorism. The company settled a lawsuit in North Carolina for $250,000. Now, former employees say one restaurant location laid off 43 workers during the pandemic. And then when business picked up, Hooters allegedly only rehired the women who were white or had lighter skin. Now, with the Trump administration getting rid of all the DEI initiatives, do you think we're going to see more discrimination against darker skinned people in the workplace?
For white people, I think black is black. I think for black people, there's a dark and light skin comparison type of issue. Being black is black to all white people, so it doesn't make a difference.
I think that we will see an issue, especially with brown or darker brown and black people getting hired. I think that, unfortunately, some white people still have that mentality like, oh, she's good enough to pass. It's not too, it doesn't make them too uncomfortable to see that complexion. It's not a threat to them. So I think that we probably will see that, unfortunately.
Indeed. I think this administration has put so much rhetoric out there that people are going to show their true colors.
I agree.
And if we look at the foundations of what this country has been built on, traditionally it has a prejudice undertone, it has a racial undertone. So I do think people will be affected.
Yeah, we saw that with Hulk Hogan. He just got booed at WWE. He had hired this assistant that he did not know was black. She came on, did a great job, and all of a sudden she got fired. And people was like, why did you fire her? He was like, it just didn't work out. It didn't work out because she was black, all right? Yeah. So coming up, we're going to hit it or quit it. A first date gets really awkward really fast, and we'll show you why up next on Truth Talks. And welcome back. Now, we couldn't call this show Truth Talks if we weren't candid with our relationship advice, so it's time to do what?
Hit it or quit it! All right, so we normally ask viewers to write in and ask us a dating question, but tonight, we wanted to weigh in on a first date. Take a look.
His mother doesn't allow him to use knives, and so when he goes out in public and his mother is not there, he does not get any meal that has to do with him cutting because his mom can't be there to cut the food. And so then he asks you if you're willing to chop up the steak or whatever meat he wanted to get, and you look at him like he's crazy because no. And then he gets upset and you end up having just a very quiet date because you didn't want to chop up his food.
How old is this man? Did she say that his mama cuts up his food and so he can't cut up his food unless his mama's there? Listen, let me tell you something. Quit it. Absolutely not.
When people be making these little tickety-talk videos, they need to put a picture up of the people they talking about.
But now let me say this. My first fiance, I used to cut up his food because I wanted to, not because I had. He said his mama did. I did it because I enjoyed being that type of submissive. But if he would have told me, you have to do this because my mama does this and I can't touch knives, oh, it would have been, it would have been a whole rap.
She also said his mama said he can mess with knives.
That's what I was saying. That's the part that
his mom
said she doesn't allow him to mess with knives.
That was
like,
scary.
for what reason?
For what reason?
Crazy?
Hey, I can't believe he said that.
My mama don't allow me to touch knives.
I would have never said that. Hey,
that was
all you had to do, bro, you could have been
lying.
Like, you like, yeah, I'm gonna get it. Why ain't get no steak? I'm like, babe, you know what the truth is? I'll get one if you'll cut it up for me.
Because my mama said,
but you can't put your mama in there.
No, you can't put your mama in there.
Hell no, you not never told.
Yeah.
Quit it. Is it time to judge yet?
No, you got a question up there.
Okay, so here's the question. Okay, so do you think there's honestly gonna be a second date?
No, absolutely not. Like Bree said, it's not even so much about I need to cut it up for you, because I'll cut up your food for you. That's okay with me. It's the fact that you said your mama says you can't be around knives.
Yeah.
I want to know why, and more than that, I don't want to know why. I'm getting the hell out of this date. That's why.
I'm definitely gonna quit
it
and
get out of there.
I feel exactly like what Dr. B said. Why do your mama not allow you? And why at this big age are you still listening to what your mama say? Like, it's too many questions I had in that. I don't even want to know the answer.
But if he's listening to what his mama said, there's a problem. There's a bigger problem than just this steak.
Quit it.
Ryan, do Patty cut up your food?
I'm just looking at this video and I'm saying fake news.
Fake news?
I don't believe anything that lady put in that video. I think people trying to go viral. I don't believe there's no man that said my mama don't let me play with knives, so she's gonna cut up my meat. But she's like, you know what? I need to get me a Reese's Pizza. I need to find me somebody gonna say that they don't let me cut up their knives, and I gotta eat applesauce. And let me put it up on the internet and watch it go viral.
Right.
And I think that's what it's all about. Is like people are just so busy clout chasing. There's no way that is happening in real life. That lady is not dumb enough to put that up on a video.
But Ryan said that was her way of selling herself for a date. Ryan said she put that out there for a man to say, but I go to date with you.
I'll do it.
You ain't got to cut up my meat.
Hey, quick question. What's the craziest thing that a man asks you to do at dinner? Good. I mean, stump. My friend Q Parker,
mine was go to the bathroom. Let's go to the bathroom. And I wasn't going to the bathroom. I would go to the bathroom, but not on a date. If you're my man, but not on a casualty. It was let's go to the bathroom.
Oh, one time this guy took me on a date, and while we were on the date, he actually sent me unsolicited dick pic.
On the date?
While on the date. And I was just like, first of all, and then, because it was not even flattering. And then it was like, did you already have this in the stall? Like,
oh, wait, Bree, that happened. That happened to me. He didn't send the dick. Oh, this is good. We went on the first date, and it was a young guy. He pulled out that little vibrator thing you put in your panties, my right-handed guy, and he said, here, I brought you a gift. I opened up the gift. It was the thing you put in your panties, and he has a remote control. We're not even going on a date.
So would you rather just cut his meat?
Yeah, because when he gave you that thing, he was trying to,
literally, I'd rather cut his meat.
When he gave you that device, he was trying to cut your meat.
And I said, what? I couldn't, it was, no.
Grow up.
Hey, quit it, and you need to quit posting that BS. I don't believe none you put up there.
I believe it, Ryan.
I do not.
I believe there's so many man babies out here. Y'all, if y'all been with these man babies, drop it in the comments and let us know. Y'all know that they exist.
Listen,
I believe it, but quit it, girl.
And if he gets you a vibrator that go in your panties, he has a remote control, go on and cut his meat instead of letting him cut yours. Yeah, make a different decision.
Willie said quit it already.
Quit it.
Quit it.
Right? All right, that's all the time we have for tonight. Be sure to follow us and go into the comments on all of our socials right here on Foxhole and YouTube. Good night. Quit it.
Good night, y'all.